Today we're talking about the Africa Cup of Nations as South Africa gears up to take on Mali in the quarterfinal on Saturday evening. We have Carlos Amato here to talk us through the team's chances and discuss your questions on all things football related. Now Carlos, big game tomorrow. What are your thoughts on Bafana's chances against Mali?
Quite good. I think the Malians are a stronger team on paper, but I don't feel that they will handle the intensity of the Moses Mabhida Stadium tomorrow. I think it's going to be an amazing atmosphere as it was in the last two games there. And the bookies are backing South Africa to win, which is quite interesting. I mean, obviously they'll have to improve on their defence, which was a bit dodgy in the last two games, the last game. You'll have to see some better performances from a couple of players like Katlego Mpela, who owes us a big game. But there's so much spirit in this side that I think they've got it. They've got what it takes to reach the semi-finals, which would be amazing. Moving
on to Facebook, we have a question from Ikaneng, and he says a story needs to be written on the referee by Burnett, and he said it was nauseous. Now, there's been a lot of unhappiness on this front. What are your thoughts on this matter?
Daniel Bennett was not his finest night the other night. He did give some dodgy penalties, but he also was dealing with some outrageous diving throughout the game from both teams. So I have some sympathy for him because, having to sort of determine whether someone is trying to cheat you or is genuinely being fouled, if you have to do that every 5 minutes, it's inevitable that eventually you're going to get something wrong. And I think he had a tough night, but, at least I think it was a fair result in the end, and the Togolese did deserve to go through. So I think he's probably grateful that he didn't, that penalty that he awarded at the end was missed by the Tunisians.
One thing that's kind of struck me while we're watching the games on TV, and that is the kind of low local support for especially some of the non-Bafana games, as you would call it. Think about the local support. I mean, it certainly has been very disappointing.
Yeah, it has, and that's partially down to the lack of funds given for marketing and probably a lack of imagination in the marketing, and it probably a lot of tickets should have been given to schools and to people who couldn't afford to pay the full price. It should have been a subsidized thing, but be that as it may, it's also it reveals the fact that we're not perhaps passionate about football as we like to think we are, and don't really do the legwork of being a fan to go and watch great players. I mean, the first game between Ivory Coast and Togo, it was amazing. Didier Drogba and Yaya Toure there to be watched for a very cheap ticket, and nobody came to us. It filled up towards the end of it, but it was a shocking sight, and I thought this was an opportunity to show that that we developed a real awareness of football in this country after the World Cup, and it seems we haven't really.
Carlos, I'm now asking you to put your head on the block here. A final matchup. What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to look beyond Ghana and Ivory Coast. I mean, those two sides have been streets ahead of the others at the moment. Although, I mean, the Burkinabes have looked wonderful. I mean, they'll be missing Alain Traoré for the rest of the tournament, and he scored 2 wonderful goals and looked like he was going to be the star of the tournament. So that's sad to see. So they're an outside bet, and Bafana can't be ruled out. I mean, if they come across Ivory Coast in the semi-final, it'll probably be tickets. I mean, of course, they have to beat Mali first. But those two, Ivory Coast and Ghana, look like they're going to be in the final, and I would back Ivory Coast to take it and finally redeem themselves after all these years of underperforming.